the energy in this room, the passion, the excitement for what we're building is incredible. It's incredible. It's spectacular. It's deeply emotional for me to see so many people that are connecting with the products and connecting with myself, what myself and hundreds of other people have spent years and years of time putting together, making thousands and thousands of decisions. And each time you point out one of those decisions of, hey, I like this feature, I see that feature, I really appreciate this, each one's just more meaningful than you can imagine. Thank you. What was also amazing is how far everyone's come from. So I met someone from Honolulu, someone from Puerto Rico, multiple people from Seattle, Washington, Portland, New Jersey, San Francisco. I mean, it's incredible. I just talked to someone who flew here from Puerto Rico and is flying back tonight, which was so awesome, so awesome. But the reason we're here today and the reason the products are so exciting is because of you. Because you guys are looking for something that's going to enable you to take your kids, your family, your gear. That's what drives us. That's what makes us think, how do we make this product something that customers will just absolutely love? How do we make people's lives easier to go out and say yes to those adventures? Make it easier to say yes to the things we're going to take photographs of. And the energy in this room, you know, if we could hook all of ourselves up to wires, we could charge the vehicles with it. It is just really incredible. So, it's what I want to talk about here. You guys are on this journey with us. You've joined us. You've put money down. You've taken part in something with us to help us get there. And it's so powerful. And again, thank you for being part of this. And I want to talk here a bit about sort of the core pillars of why we exist as a company. And first, of course, you see in the vehicles, we're adventurers. Every single person at the company, hopefully you've gotten a chance to talk to some of the folks on the team, we're adventurers. You know, the people on this team are people that have left jobs at other companies. They've moved across the country. They've missed birthday parties. They've been late to dinners. They've sacrificed to build these products. And they've said yes to things that would have been easier to say no to. They've said yes to new technologies. They've said yes to new features. They said yes to really hard technical problems. And we're doing that because we want to have a product that just absolutely excites the people using it. And when we use the word adventure, we often think about mountain bikes on the top of a bike, or the snowboard fitting into the gear tunnel, or going off-road, or spending the afternoon on a lakeside. But adventure is also a state of mind. It's an adventurous way of thinking. And all of you guys are taking part in this with us. You guys are part of that. You're part of this adventure. So again, thank you. Now, the other aspect of what we're doing is designing a vehicle that delivers extreme performance, extreme excitement, with a very high level of sustainability. And this, I almost fell off the stage. That would have been of interest. And sustainability is a word we hear everyone use. It's a word that's often overused. And in our case, it really is at the core of what we're doing. And what drives that is if you're looking at all the mobility, all the things we do in our lives, the lights, the air conditioning, this is running on fossil fuels. This is running on a carbon-based fuel that took 300 million years to accumulate. Dinosaurs, plants accumulating into the earth. And we're now harvesting those to power our lives. And what's remarkable is that what took 300 million years to accumulate, we've used about half in 100 years. So it's incumbent upon us, this generation, us in this room, to help shift the world to an energy system that's based on electrons, that we can start to source sustainably, source from the sun, source from the wind. And as we do that, as we drive that sustainability to the vehicle, it drives the decisions that we're making. And there's lots of things you don't see, the efficiency of the battery pack, the efficiency of the drive systems. But all those things are coming together to create a product that makes it desirable. Sustainability only works if it's more desirable than the other option. These vehicles have to be exciting, they have to be different than what else is out there. But when we look at that even deeper, it begs the question, what can we do with our technology? And what you're going to start to see from us as a company, in addition to the products you see here, is us entering into relationships and partnerships that allow us to leverage this technology to help other companies, to help other entities more quickly advance their movement towards electrification, towards sustainable sources of energy. So we're really excited to have Amazon join us as a partner in this journey. Yes. Actually, there's a few people here from Amazon, so thank you. But we're also excited about some of the other partners we have coming together to help us build the business. And we're excited about you guys as partners. So again, thank you everyone for coming. Enjoy the night. Make sure if there's any questions you have, you ask a Rivian person, someone who has a pin on their shirt. Grill them hard. And if they don't answer the questions the right way, come find me. But have fun, and thank you everyone.
I just finished attending the Rivian event. We had a presentation by the CEO. I'll go ahead and include that. And then we had a small party with, I guess you'd call them, not even really tapas, just kind of hors d'oeuvres that kind of came around as you talk to each other, like the reservation holders. And what was really nice is they brought the engineers. So I spoke with first an engineer. I didn't realize he was an engineer at first, and I didn't ask what he did. Then next I spoke with the interior engineer, and then I spoke with the battery engineer. So I had a chance to answer, or not answer, but ask a lot of great questions. And then they also asked questions of me. I didn't hide the fact that I have a Tesla Model X, and they were impressed that I drove it all the way up from Charleston to here. And they asked us some questions, and we told them what was important in the car for us. And I asked them make sure that they didn't overlook certain things, like so far there's a lot of manufacturers that don't let you specify an end time for the charging. They'll let you specify the start, which is good if you have time of use billing, but the time that the charging ends is even more useful, so you have a battery that's completely up to temperature in time for you to go. Everything is still in flux. There are lots of tweaks and changes they're making. Like a gentleman had a question about the wireless charging of the phone in the console, and it sounds like either the console might change or what's in there won't do it exactly the same way. Not to a negative. It's still going to have a wireless phone charger. It's just whatever he was taking a picture of might not be the final rendition. And I asked him about little stuff like the coat hooks. There will have coat hooks behind the seats, and behind those coat hooks they'll have USB ports to charge your tablet or whatever. And I wanted to make sure that they kept the adjustable seat belt. And he said, yeah, there's no plans to remove that. You might notice on the Model S, you still don't have adjustable seat belts. And talked about some stuff from other manufacturers, all the way from Kia to Chevrolet and so forth. Just kind of, their heads are on right. Their mission will be accomplished. They are not looking to cut corners. They want to make sure that the vehicle is an adventure vehicle and that it's ready to go. The sizing is really hard to get a picture of, because same with every other prototype, it's got that special paint job. It just makes it really hard to, and they never put it next to anything else, so it's really hard to get a feel for. Somebody was afraid that it would look like a Ford Flex. It's, I would say, maybe a stretch Flex in length on the SUV, but much taller. It's at the high point, it's about the same high point as the Model X, but the models with the adjustable suspension, they can go much higher and much lower, just because of the way that they have designed their power plant. They've got the 4 motors, and they've both got, or each of the 4 motors has got a really long drive shaft going from the reduction gearing. And from everything I've heard, I'm excited about these cars. And as my friend Brandon was explaining what he was getting with the SUV, I was looking a little closer at the truck, because I never did count them out, but until he made his reservation, I didn't realize how close they were. And he made his reservation right after Amazon invested in the company, and there were a couple of Amazon employees there in their Amazon shirts today. And I'm very confident that this company is going to have a product in the market next year. They're looking at the end of next year, and so depending on when you watch this, it's going to be the end of 2020, and I'm ecstatic about it. Depending on how Blade Runner-y the Tesla pickup truck is, I might be more interested in the R1T. the Rivian R1T. What I like about that is that it is a regular conventional pickup truck that can handle your off-road adventures, your on-road adventures, and you know what you're getting. It's a pickup truck. It'll tow 11,000 pounds for both the SUV and the truck, and it's a known quantity. So if Elon goes stir crazy with the Tesla pickup, then I have no problems flipping over to the Rivian for our pickup truck needs. And if the Blade Runner is my style and is also useful, I might go that. So I'm excited to see what they show us at the pickup truck unveil, and at that point I will decide, once we're ready for a second vehicle, where we're going to aim that. But anybody who's in the market, I cannot fault you for picking the Rivian. There's still some other manufacturers out there that I want to see what they come up with, but I'm just not feeling that they're there yet. So right now it's looking like it's going to be Tesla and Rivian on the electric side. Obviously Ford and GM, they're old companies. They know what it takes to make a car. They could do it if they want to. The problem is their dealers so far haven't been, on the whole. I mean, I've worked for a Chevy dealership and they were interested in electric, but they weren't in the right market for having customers that were interested in it, and because it was a small town dealership, and it just the ownership was on board, but the customer base was not. And then I've been to other Chevy dealerships and Nissan and other electric manufacturers where, you know, they hide the car in the back. It's not charged. They didn't fill the tires. It's dirty, and so having the dealer network on the whole that also sells gas cars, fossils, if you will, diesel and gasoline. So a fossil dealer as generally not worked out, because they have no incentive to sell the vehicle that has the same amount of, as a salesman. If vehicle A and vehicle B pay the same, but vehicle A takes twice as long to train the user on, twice as long to do the paperwork, twice as long to prep, you're going to want to sell two of product B instead of one of product A, no matter how good product A is for the environment, how fun it is, because you're there for a job. You're there to sell cars, make money, go home, and spend time with your family. So I understand this reticence of the existing dealer network, and I also see that's exactly why Rivian and Tesla are avoiding franchise dealerships, because depending on how you word your franchise agreement, you can stop them from doing a lot of stupid stuff, but say you've got a Honda, Toyota, Chevrolet dealership, all one ownership, they have to be very careful about how they present everything. They can't say, oh, the Chevrolets are garbage. They just say, hey, this Honda is better. Same with the electric. So Chevrolet ran into that. We talked about that on, I believe it was the What Drives the Show. It might have been the Tesla Life. So Chevrolet went through great lengths to really, really bash hybrids. And so then when they came out with the Volt, they had to do everything in their power to separate the Chevy Volt from the regular hybrids out there. And they even invented the class, the EREV, the extended range electric vehicle, because if they called it a plug-in hybrid, then they would be fighting all of that market FUD they put out there. And it's funny how it came back to bite them. And so that's been going on all this time now with these existing dealerships and the marketing and the sales network. So Audi, for instance, they just came out with their, I believe it was Audi. I think it was Audi. Just came out with their getting their feet wet ads. They're getting the market ready to accept the concept of an electric car from Audi in the marketplace. And they're like, hey, it's not slow, it's not, it's like literally they went point for point for all the poo they've been smearing on top of the electric cars, and they said, oh, we're not any of that bad stuff. It's an Audi, it's great, it's electric, you'll be ready for it. And the manufacturer may be ready, but then they still have the dealer network. So you've got Truck World. I'm sorry if that's a real dealership name. WeSellTrucks.com. That might be real too. But either way, like literally a dealership where all they do is lifted pickup trucks and Hummers and mud bugging and And then they're bashing the electric truck. It can't do this. It can't do that. It doesn't have the torque. It can't go fast enough. It can't pull. And all of a sudden now they've got one. It's going to be a tough sell to get over that what they put out in the market. And so if you don't have a dealer network, especially a franchise one, you don't have to deal with that. And that was very smart of both of those. And I think that now that the Texas service or lack of service initiative has failed, where they were trying to make it illegal for Tesla to service their own vehicles in Texas after the customers already bought them. Being a very freedom-loving state, it was super weird that they were doing that. But when you looked at the donors for that senator, they were all oil and they were all large dealerships, and so you can see where he was bought and paid for. And thankfully, there was an initiative from the Tesla owners and other EV owners out there that they were unable to successfully pass that initiative. But with that, I mean, if they go again and try, either in Texas or Michigan or South Carolina, to make it illegal for Tesla to do their thing, because right now they can't sell new cars there except online only. If they make another play at it, and this goes to the Supreme Court, and all the manufacturers say they're fighting it now because they have to. They have these agreements in place. Say whatever level the court throws it out. Oh yeah, no, franchise dealerships are illegal. What do you think that the large manufacturers are going to do? GM and Ford and Nissan. Obviously, they can't breach the contract, so they'll have some that they have to keep. But at that same point, now they're competing with the dealers, which is exactly why the dealer laws exist in the first place, was to keep the manufacturer from going against you, not to keep new manufacturers out. So I have a feeling that all these dealer groups, NADA and a bunch of others, they were fighting so hard, I think that they have overreached and overshot, and now they've shot themselves in the foot. There's a lot of great family dealerships out there, and then there's a lot of awful large corporate dealerships out there. Not that all family dealerships are great, and not that all corporate dealerships are bad, but really it's only the large corporate dealerships and the largest of the family dealerships that have the money to make this mess for getting these products out there. And now that they've done this fighting in this manner, I have a feeling it's going to come back to bite them. Or Rivian's not doing any retail, is what I was told. And you saw that Tesla tried to close all their retail locations. You can't legally block the online sales because they count as catalog sales, which are protected with interstate trade. So if they come after that, then they're really done. I'm just curious to see how that will all play out. I've rambled on for a little while, so what I want to do is I want to ask you to put in the comments, what do you think? I'll be in the comments, I'll be answering questions, and I'll probably make a follow-up video because this is so exciting. These are topics that I absolutely engrossed with. And while you're there, I want to ask you to give a thumbs up down below and While you're there, I want to ask you to give a thumbs up down below to like the video. While you're down there, I want to ask you to give a thumbs up to like the video. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of each new video that I upload. And I'll be looking in the comments for your questions and also your comments. And I would love to have this discussion. And then depending on what happens, we might even do like record a group chat or something and see. It's super. I love this topic, and I'm excited to talk more about it. I'll catch you all on the flip side. We're gonna have to get out of New York. I only have parking here for another hour or two, and it's raining, so we're not gonna walk anywhere downtown Manhattan. At the beginning of the event, I know I'm saying goodbye already, but it doesn't matter. So at the event was at the Classic Car Club, and in the rain, my wife managed to set off the alarm in the car, and so I I answered and walked right past the venue, and I'm 10 piers over from where I need to be by the time I realize that the number is getting larger, not smaller, on the Google walking maps. And so I turned back around. Then it starts to pour, got drenched, and got in. And thankfully they had a coat check, so I was able to to toss that wet jacket out and not have to carry it around. And it was a blast. And so Brandon's asking how the event was, and let me call him up and see if perhaps we can record it or see how it goes. We might not. But if we can, I'll just throw a static graphic up here, and then we'll have the conversation online. Catch you on the flip side. Check out the video of him speaking, and that was it. I did get a couple like panning shots for like B-roll of the front and back of the SUV, and yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
So
okay. Well, I mean, you got some pictures and stuff?
Yeah, I did get a few pictures. Not too many, because there were too many people way too close, and they had like a band around the you know, like they'll do for the cars in the mall, like this like metal half fence, like don't come in here, and they had that.
Right.
I had the opportunity to speak with 3 engineers. I don't know what the first guy did because I didn't know they had brought their engineers. I thought he was just a regular product specialist. But I spoke with the interior engineer and the battery engineer after him. And I got to speak about the service situation, and I spoke about the charging network, and lots of little stuff inside the car, such as like the coat hooks and how the battery cooling and heating would work. I told them how I had track day, and after 5-6 laps, the car was, it probably wasn't exactly 5 or 6 laps because it was a small track. The car was throttling me back. It's like, hey, cut it out. And I also talked about like the preheating, like for when you have to go somewhere. And so they talked about how the car learns, and like it doesn't just preheat the cabin for you like our cars do. It'll preheat the battery, or pre-cool the battery, whatever it needs. Usually it's going to be heat for the battery.
Oh, that's interesting. So they're taking a different approach than Tesla.
Yeah, I got mixed answers on how they're handling service. They're definitely going to do service partners, and for an example, Meineke, he didn't say who they're talking with or how it's going to work, but I was just saying something that would be in every town already. Like it could be a dealership ASE certified, or it could be just like Jiffy Lube or something, but he wouldn't say how they were planning it. But he said that the first guy said it was definitely not going to be like Tesla mobile service. But then I spoke to a guy who lives in New Jersey, not Jersey, the country, and he said, they told him it was going to be exactly like Tesla mobile service, where they come out to you and deal with it. But the guy I spoke with, he told me that would only be the case if they aren't set up in your area. So like in our case, where Charlotte's an 8-hour round trip. So if that was the case, he actually said if you have to go more than an hour any direction, is their ultimate goal is that at that point they failed and they will send mobile service to get you. But if there's within an hour and it's not a vehicle down situation, you'll come to them. If vehicle's down, they'll come get you, take you to the nearest shop. Or if they're like in Charleston, if they're not set up, they will do the right thing by you there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think a lot of people, they don't think about these vehicles for what they are. I mean, if you buy a Land Rover and then you drive and you live 3 hours from the nearest Rover dealership, I mean, that's the same kind of service you should expect.
Exactly.
That's who they're competing with.
It is.
And if you buy a Maserati in Charleston and you live in Augusta, Georgia, well, you've got to drive all the way to Charleston if you want your Maserati service at the Maserati dealership. So,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been upset by the service thing, as long as they do offer some sort of mobile, which it sounds like an hour away.
Yeah, and that's plenty.
Great. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and then the first guy wouldn't commit at all to their service they're not the service network, their charging network. He's like, we have a standard port at CCS. It's going to be everywhere by the time this car lands. This should be good enough. And I was just very disappointed by that. But when I was speaking to both the interior engineer and the battery engineer, they both said that where there is not enough coverage, say Charleston doesn't get enough DC fast chargers, which it looks like we're going to get something at the Target.
Yeah.
So like if we
Target North Charleston.
Yeah, so if we end up not getting enough, they will go ahead and they will supplement the national network by putting in where it needs to be, because you know that right now they're all clustered around cities. There's no interstate story for the most part with these networks, except for Tesla, and
Yeah.
they've got these cars. Yeah, they've got the range to get between cities. It's a little harder with the rain. They've got the range to get between cities, but they wanted to make sure that that you're not sitting there charging for 2 hours to get from Charleston to get to say Raleigh or something. I guess that's not a 500-mile issue, but between the major city pairs like in LA and San Francisco. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be a big thing. But I feel like surely the Amazon component is going to come into play there. I feel like with Amazon having Whole Foods and Whole Foods having smart chargers.
Yeah.
I mean there's got to be a play there.
Yeah, and I think there will be too, because I don't see Amazon didn't say anything at this event. They were just there and they clapped, but I don't see them letting this fail. They've invested a large amount of money into the company, so I think, like you said, they will also be supplementing this, and they might also be able to do the service, because like right now, who is it? There's a computer company that when there's a failure and you've got like next day service, you put a UPS label on it, and then the next day UPS has fixed it and brought it back to you, like at the depot. And Amazon's a logistics company the same way, so I have a feeling that they may be up to something with that, which is really cool. And then, so the interior guy, he's really into making sure the experience makes sense. So the key is going to be like the Tesla key. At the very, very minimum, it's going to be like the Tesla key, where you don't have to push a start button. You don't have to do anything stupid fancy. But he also doesn't want to be like the Model 3 experience, where you only have it from your phone. So there'll probably be a fob or a more robust phone situation. He said basically if you go jump in the ocean and all of a sudden your key doesn't work, that's not good. That's not very adventure ready, is it? Yeah. So at the very least, the car will know what side of the car you're getting in on. So like how on my Model X, the driver's door will open and close based on what I do. And then whoever opens the driver's door, the plan is to have it set everything for them. The steering wheel height, their temperature preferences, the lighting, etc. He said that everything in the car.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it will know before you get in the car who is getting in the driver's seat.
Exactly, and it will know.
Okay.
Everything will be stateless.
That's really nice.
Yeah. So if you park the car, you turn the signal. You're in a busy parking lot. You turn the signal, and you get in, and you leave the blinker on. You get out. Well, it's gonna be like the Model 3, where the blinker doesn't get stuck down like it does on my Model X, almost all traditional cars, where everything is stateless. So you push a button, it doesn't matter. The button it's just a toggle to the computer to make it do stuff. So you get back from your trip and get in the car, the blinker is no longer just sitting there on, which is phenomenal.
So speaking of that, did they talk about the autonomous driving at all?
Yes. So they want it to be level 3 out of the box. So to the point where you're sitting in the driver's seat, you're able to read a newspaper, not pay attention. He doesn't want you sleeping. And then either they're still looking at the ways that the car will alert you to get back out of, say it needs your help, say you go through construction zone or whatever. He said they right now they're talking about stuff from anywhere from chimes like we've got now in the Tesla to all the light pipes pulsing a certain color, the dome lights, whatever it takes. Whatever the UI team comes up with is a good way to grab your attention will be what they do. But they don't want you to have to sit there and keep tugging on the wheel or do like the Cadillac where you got to stare into the into this box, like where if your eyes leave the box, it's telling you to grab the wheel. He wanted it to be what they promised us, like what people envision when they hear the word autopilot. Not real pilots, because obviously real pilots understand that autopilot is like cruise control, super cruise control, and obviously they're probably not going to call it autopilot, but he wants it to be that level of what autopilot has been promised to us, where you're in the seat but you don't have to do anything, and it will have the ability to do stuff like the smart summon, where it's in the parking lot and it's raining like it is right now, and you want the car to come get you, and the car will come get you. And obviously they showed us off at the last event. They showed off the autonomous trail readiness, And so they're going to still have that in there as well. He talked about that. And I think that's really cool, the fact that it could find its way off of the beaten path, because that is even more difficult than finding your way around a city street. Because the city streets, they're marked, they've got signs. The paint might be bad, but other than not running into other people, they're pretty much, because of the standards, they have to be a certain way, right? But it's raining right now, and tomorrow's not raining. You want to go back down that same trail you were just on. Well, now it's got ruts and holes and right?
So it sounds like they're doing a camera-based system then, if they're doing off-road.
Yeah, he wouldn't commit to it. He did say that there's cameras all over the vehicle. Another reservation holder pointed out the logo on the third pillar. I guess you call it the C pillar. The C pillar. It wasn't close to the D pillar. So he said that's a camera in there, and so I'm thinking either it'll pop out or it'll flip around. So I'm thinking pop out, or it's just got a really wide angle lens, because that logo looked fixed. And then I asked him about LiDAR, and he wouldn't say no, and he wouldn't say yes, and he wouldn't say how they're hiding it if it is LiDAR. So they may be pulling a Tesla there and doing a LiDAR-free system, because LiDAR doesn't do anything that Vision doesn't do, except give you immediate ranging. You don't need two of them to find out the range. You just need one unit, and it spins around, right? But it also can't see through snow, smoke, or fog, whereas radar can. And depending on what your cameras do, like if you got the right specs on it, you might be able to see through fog and some dust, but it still needs to be supplemented. And then he talked about the approach angles of the approach angle, the departure angle, and the basically all the stuff you need for the off-roading, and they was explaining about all the travel. And one of the people had specified on the air suspension equipped model, so I don't know if air suspension is going to be optional, or if they were looking at possibly not including it on some of them. And I asked him, I said, well, what if I am budget conscious and I want to get the middle model instead of the big battery? You'll lose a little bit of speed and range, but they're not going to punish you by taking stuff out of the car like the big boys do. Like say with your Nissan Leaf, when you were looking for the S versus the SL versus the Plus, right? And so you don't have to do that. More like the Tesla, where if you want it, it's there. It's just a matter of what battery you picked. And I spoke to somebody who wasn't the battery engineer about, well, what if you bought the middle-sized battery and now it doesn't have the range anymore because it's 12 years old and you're ready to replace it? Would you be able to upgrade your range to the large-sized battery at that point? He wouldn't commit to it, but he thought it was a really good question, and so he's going to take it back to their next meeting. And then I found, not found, but they told me, and I found it quite interesting, that that their team is quite global already. They've got in England, they've got a large group there for the performance stuff, because they stole McLaren's designer, or one of their engineers, and then after he left, a bunch of his team just followed him. He's like apparently a great boss, and that's what people wanted, so they went with him. And they couldn't force all those people to move continents, and then in California, they've got a bunch of different offices in California, but basically California is anything that's going to make the vehicle move, either autonomy or powertrain, etc. And anything that makes it go is going to be in California. And then in Detroit is like the body and the other engineering. And then the factory, I believe he said it was in Illinois. Not in Illinois, Indiana. It's one of the I states, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I am being totally inaccurate. I'll have to look up and see where the factory is. But it's more on the eastern side than it is closer to the to all the rest of the stuff, which is pretty cool. And that was what they bought. They bought Mitsubishi's old plant. Something like that. I'll look that up too.
It's in, Illinois.
Illinois, okay, so that was right. I believe it was the Mitsubishi plant.
Yeah, in Normal, Illinois.
Normal, Illinois. That's awesome. We're just a normal car factory, no big deal. Quite literally.
Yeah, they paid $200 million for it.
Not bad. That's a really good deal, actually. I wonder if they got any heavy equipment in it, like Tesla did. GM was trying to get that heavy press back, and Tesla just kept slow walking them to the point where GM was like, "We really want that heavy press back," and then Tesla's like, well, come get it. And they're like, well, how about if you pay us however much million and you can keep that heavy press? So that'd be cool if Rivian has a deal like that where they got to keep something.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
I'm sure they got something out of it.
Yes. So what other kind of stuff were you interested in asking them? See if maybe I did the right thing and did ask them, or overheard somebody asking them.
You asked them a lot of technical stuff. That's really cool. That's very informative.
Yeah.
I guess like really, I was more like just superficially like what did you think of? I mean, did you get to see? Did it look production ready? I mean, does it look like it's just this one vehicle they've made, or?
Yeah,
I mean, what did they say about?
The two they brought were the same ones that we saw in the video and the unveiling. They were the pre-production, or not pre-production. What do you call them? Not even prototypes. They're the hand-built, just making sure that everything lines up the way they want models. And they looked great. They looked great. I didn't see any seams or anything that were off. I mean, the SUV had a bunch of fingerprints on it because people were opening and closing it, but they wouldn't let us, as the reservation holders and guests, touch the cars. But I was able to see that, like, the center screen looks like the Model 3 screen, but it's integrated into the dash like the Model X and S screen is. And then the binnacle screen, the one right in front of you with the speedometer and everything, it looks like the Model S and X screen does without that stupid trapezoidal hunk of plastic trim around it. Like, they're not apologizing for the fact that it's a digital screen. It's got that same nice beveled edge. It's beautiful, and they both look like they're just lightly set into the wood. And the interior designer said, they had a lot of overlap with like Patagonia, REI, and stuff like that. And so they wanted to make sure that, since they did have that overlap in the customers, they wanted to make sure that they were true to the customer sensibilities. And so, like, Patagonia was the first one he put out there. I was like, yes, you said the right word.
Yeah, that's us in a nutshell.
Yeah, and so, and then it's like the CEO keeps saying, they're an adventure brand, but adventure doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. You say adventure brand, and people are thinking, oh, I'm out in the mud and I'm camping and I'm making a mess. But for some people, an adventure is literally just going to explore a new city and bring all your stuff with you that you need. Like, say you're gonna bring the jogging stroller and the baby, and it needs to be ready to do what you consider to be adventuring, and they're thinking about that, and I was impressed. Whereas you've got the other guys like Bollinger and a couple of others that are, they say they're ready, but they don't have a couple $100 million investment from China or from Amazon, and they don't have a couple $100 million loan from the government that they paid back early like Tesla. I mean, so I only see. Go ahead.
I was just probably cutting you off when you're about to answer my question, but so I mean, did they seem like a company that's going to make a car, or is this? I mean, is this vaporware, or are did they talk any kind of timeline?
Yeah, so end of next year they'll start making deliveries, and so that's what I was saying is I only really see at the moment of all these electric brands, aside from if Chevy or Ford get their act together in time. VW can do it too, but VW has been doing so much just talk, of empty talk. I can't count them yet. But so far, the only two I see doing anything in the space legitimately the way that us as these non-traditional customers for the car companies, I only see Rivian and Tesla making it out of this because they're positioned right. They've got the factories, they've got the product in a place where it can be constructed. It's not endless press releases from VW. It's not you're gonna have to buy the new model to get that feature Chevrolet.
Yeah.
Because
still no word on how many pre-orders have been placed.
I think that they're smart not to say it, just like Tesla has finally learned not to put that out there, because you've got so many people who want to see your company just fail so they can just collect off of the carcass. So the less ammo you give them, the better.
So how many people were at the? Because there were two shows today. How many were at your?
In my evening show, I want to say there were over 300 people in there.
Really?
Yeah, and
300 people were willing to drive to New York just to see this car. That's a lot.
I know it was impressive, and
That's a lot.
yeah, I mean the room was full. I mean there was enough space that you could walk around between the different areas without bumping into people, but it was to the point where you had to look and plan your path. You couldn't just, let me just pop on over to the car. All right, let me just pop on over back to the pickup truck. You know, you had to look and plot your course. You had to watch out for the waiters. You had to watch out for the other people asking questions, and it was awesome. It was awesome. A couple people left early, but not too many. And it got to the point where we were still in there. They kicked us out. They're like, all right, we're out of time. If you wouldn't mind, they cut the music off. They're like, if you wouldn't mind, please head to the door, grab your coat.
Did it look like, were more people interested in one vehicle over the other, or was it about the same?
I couldn't tell on that, but I did hear a couple people say that either they wanted to switch from one to the other, and a couple people, you know, they spoke to the actual product specialists, not the engineers, and they ended up putting in second or third reservations at the computer kiosk in the corner. It was quite impressive.
People were putting in reservations at the show.
Additional reservations, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That brings up another question. Was it mentioned if you would be able to swap if you reserve one or the other?
I heard
at the time of order?
I heard two people talking about doing a swap. I don't know what the process is for that. I imagine there's probably a swap fee, but it looks like they're being accommodating. Rather than have you do your refundable on your deposit, you keep your place in line and you just switch it from a car to a truck. Or, I say car, but it's SUV.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, it's cool.
It is cool.
I look forward to seeing the footage and the pictures, especially.
Yeah. So the footage I've mostly just got the CEO speaking, and I'll go ahead and put that up, and then I've got a couple of shots of me like kind of panning around the car, because a lot of people get weird if you put them on video. So I was trying not to include anybody who was like milling around the trucks to keep them out of there, and so it's not a lot of footage, but I got a couple pictures, and it was just, the experience was just phenomenal. So what I want to do is I want to have a chat with everybody on the video, and then maybe we can do a Q&A and like answer like the best questions. I'm pumped. I'm excited to see more from Rivian going forward.
Yeah, no, I am too.
Especially your products.
Worth the trip?
I might have flown instead of driving, but I do have the satisfaction of knowing that with my driving, I was putting minimal impact on the environment. And
so, how would you compare it to your Model X?
It's a real SUV. It's not a CUV. So they both target different areas. So this one, you can go off road if you want to. You don't have to think too hard about how you're packing it up. The rear seat, he wouldn't answer me when I asked about the legroom, but the rear seat, somebody had put it up right after I'd asked the question, and it looks to be about the same as the Model X, as far as distance between the back of the middle row and the front of the seat back of the third row. But the height of that third row was higher, so it looks like it's designed to shove an adult back there and cram them in versus a child, like on my Model X. And because it was a little longer and a little more square, with that third row up in the seating position, there was more room behind it to put stuff. Because it doesn't have that stupid slope down for aerodynamics. I get why they did it, and because CUVs are popular, but CUVs are not practical. But thankfully, with the Model S, Model S and X, you get that frunk, so it helps a little bit, and you get the underfloor. And speaking of frunks, the front trunk on that, and they did call it a frunk several times. The front trunk on that Rivian is phenomenal. They've got coat hooks, or not coat hooks, but hooks for the grocery bags and whatever, all around. They're quite large, and they've got the power up and power down. But he was talking, how on the Model S, the Model 3, and the Model X, when you go to deal with the frunk, because it's not powered, and after a long road trip, you've got all the bug guts on it, right? And you kind of go to close it, and you get that you want to just kind of wring your hands a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Especially if it's like you've just closed the frunk full of bug guts, and your picnic basket was in there. It's like, where's my towel?
Yeah.
And so
I guess I see. My initial concern with the motor up, motor down was that that just seems like something that's going to break. But they've had power lift gates
exactly like
on
that
vehicles for 20 years. So it's
exactly like that. And
not that big a deal.
exactly. And so I was speaking with the interior guy. He's talking about, rather than have it flap up and down, kind of like how the Model X gets bored with you if you start walking by it in the garage too much. It will automatically, like say you walk up to it deliberately, it sees you with the 2 cameras in the front and the other sensing systems with the key. It sees you in the front, pausing. It might pop the frunk a little bit, right? And then if it sees you still waiting there, like, hey, come on, it will go ahead and just do a full open. And so I suggested, like, hey, it can see you, right? It can tell if you're holding something. So if your hands are full and you go to the front, give it a half open. And if you stay there, open it all the way up. And then if you walk away, close it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he liked that idea, and so he wrote it down. And it was... they've got the right mind about them. One of the guys owns a Model S, and so they are able to. He said he never uses his frunk because it's the new one with the one that's like feels like it's smaller than the Model 3 frunk.
Mm-hmm.
And he's learned some stuff about it and been able to apply it. And the battery engineer, he drives a 2012 Chevrolet Volt, and it's got some age on it and a mess of miles, and so he's actually noticed that he's not able to get the range out of it anymore that he used to. And so he's saying, because how I talk with people. He realized that I wasn't freaking out about the battery life, and
right.
So I said, so when the battery no longer gives you the range you want, obviously it's not going to keel over unless it's a warranty issue. And he expressed that he enjoyed how Tesla doesn't put a number on it. Say Nissan's like, all right, 70%, and then we'll do something about it. If the service center says that this is not a good battery, they'll just replace it, if it needs to be done.
And you think so Rivian's probably gonna follow that same mantra of...
It looks like if he has to say, it looks like if he has to say that they're going to do it Tesla style, where obviously if you beat the crap out of the battery, it's going to lose some range, but it's still going to work, But if you don't charge it 100% every day, and all of a sudden it falls off a cliff, that not physically, but they'll do right by the customer and take care of it, even if it's, how with the Nissan, if you were at 71% and warranty was almost out, they wouldn't take care of you. This case, you're at 77% if that happens to be the number, whatever the number is internally that they don't tell you. They'll just take care of you. They won't let you sit there and be mad. I'm never buying another one again. Yeah. And that's right. Yeah. Cool.
Well, I'm excited, man. I really appreciate you going.